Legends don't fade, they echo through time. Bruce Lee may be gone, but his spirit still kicks, punches, and philosophizes its way through every corner of pop culture. Today, we're diving into the most unforgettable moments from his astonishing, if all too brief, life. Whether it's his on-screen mastery, his off-screen wisdom, or the cultural shockwaves he left behind, each moment speaks to the force of nature that was Bruce Lee. Let's begin. Game of Death was Bruce Lee's final film project, though he didn't live to see it completed. When the film was eventually released in 1978, 5 years after his passing, it only featured around 11 minutes of original footage actually shot by Bruce himself. To fill in the gaps, the studio used body doubles, recycled clips, and even cardboard stand-ins, patching together a completely different story than what Lee had envisioned. Still, those remaining minutes give us one unforgettable sequence, a charged confrontation between Bruce and Jihan Jai, a Hapkido grandmaster. What makes this face-off so gripping isn't just the technique, but the contrast in styles. The fighters start off slow, measuring each other with caution before exploding into rapid, precise bursts of action. The duel becomes a carefully controlled storm of movement and energy, exactly the kind of choreographed elegance Bruce Lee was famous for. Bruce Lee may not have completed Game of Death, but with Way of the Dragon, he did it all, writing, directing, and starring in a film that was entirely his vision. In a narrow alleyway, Bruce's character finds himself surrounded by a gang of thugs. But instead of panicking, he calmly pulls out his nunchucks, wearing a smirk that suggests he's not even slightly worried. What follows is chaos, as Bruce takes out his attackers with effortless confidence. There's a playfulness to the choreography, with Bruce walking the line between danger and comedy. The thugs come at him one at a time, a trope he fully embraces, and every swing of the nunchaku is razor sharp. It's more than a fight, it's performance art. Much of the original footage Bruce Lee shot for Game of Death was built around a simple but powerful concept. One man, dressed in a now iconic yellow jumpsuit, climbs a multi-level pagoda, battling a new martial arts master on each floor. One of the most compelling encounters in this setup is the fight between Bruce and Dan Inosanto, his real-life friend and former student. What unfolds isn't a clash between enemies. It feels more like two equals putting each other to the test. They trade blows in a hypnotic rhythm, each strike flowing into the next with sharp precision. Inosanto fights hard, but Bruce remains collected, composed, and ultimately in control. He disarms and defeats his opponent cleanly, then continues his journey up the tower without hesitation. In Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee delivers a jaw-dropping nunchuck display before unleashing his fury on the man responsible for killing his master. It's fast, it's precise, and it's iconic. The way Lee handles the weapon is pure cinematic magic, packing both skill and swagger into every move. It's a short, sharp masterclass in how to look effortlessly cool while delivering justice. This is the moment everyone remembers. The climactic fight in Enter the Dragon between Bruce Lee and Han, his claw-wielding nemesis, takes place inside a hall of mirrors, and it has become one of the most iconic showdowns in film history. Ironically, it wasn't part of the original plan. The idea came from co-producer Paul Heller, who was inspired by the mirrored corridors of a nearby Hong Kong hotel. Director Robert Klaus embraced it, and what they created was pure cinematic magic. The environment throws everything off balance, reflections mislead, Han strikes from all angles, then vanishes. But Bruce doesn't panic. He centers himself, studies the patterns, and in a moment of clarity begins to destroy the mirrors, literally shattering the illusion. What follows is more than a physical victory, it's symbolic. Bruce isn't just defeating an enemy, he's breaking through deception, ego, and confusion. The sequence is visually stunning, thematically powerful, and a perfect showcase for what Bruce Lee brought to martial arts cinema: brains, brawn, and meaning. Enter the Dragon is often hailed as Bruce Lee's ultimate achievement, a film that broke cultural boundaries and made martial arts a global phenomenon. A joint venture between Hong Kong and Hollywood, it fused philosophical depth with bone-crunching action and stylish filmmaking. One of its most memorable sequences comes when Bruce's character is caught sneaking through the villain's compound. What follows is a relentless ambush by what seems like an endless wave of guards. But Bruce doesn't run, he holds his ground and unleashes hell. Though he's ultimately captured, the scene is a masterclass in screen combat. Every movement is tight, explosive, and visually gripping. Lee showcases total control, not just over the fight, but over the screen itself. One of the enduring thrills of any Bruce Lee film is the confidence that he's never really in danger. He doesn't just survive, he dominates with speed, precision, and an intense, almost unreadable calm. Nowhere is that more evident than in his brutal showdown with O'Hara in Enter the Dragon. O'Hara, portrayed by Bob Wall, is the top enforcer for the villain Han, and the man responsible for the death of Bruce's character's sister. That makes this fight more than just physical, it's deeply personal. From the opening moment, Bruce is sharp and focused. O'Hara fights dirty, swinging wildly and cheating every chance he gets. But Bruce dismantles him with punishing accuracy, each strike more humiliating than the last. Even when O'Hara goes berserk, smashing bottles and lunging like an animal, Bruce remains centered, until he ends the fight with a devastating jump stomp to the chest. This wasn't just a cool scene, it was emotional, relentless, and cathartic. It showed Bruce not just as a master fighter, but as a man willing to channel his pain into justice. Fist of Fury isn't just a revenge story, it's also about pride, defiance, and reclaiming dignity. And that message is never clearer than during the legendary scene where Bruce storms a Japanese dojo to settle the score. It starts with tension. Bruce enters with control, calm, and purpose. But once he takes off his shirt and grabs his nunchaku, all restraint disappears. He tears through dozens of students and masters with surgical fury. Kicks, strikes, and weapon blows merge into a violent rhythm, each movement a declaration. This fight isn't just spectacle, it carries cultural weight. Bruce's character Chen Zhen isn't simply fighting people, he's pushing back against oppression, responding to disrespect, and making it known that he and his people will no longer be treated as lesser. It's not just action, it's a statement, and one of Bruce's most emotionally charged performances. In The Big Boss, Bruce Lee's character starts out as a man committed to peace. He's sworn to his mother that he won't fight even when provoked. But that vow shatters when his cousins disappear after confronting the shady bosses at the local ice factory. What comes next is one of the bloodiest, most intense sequences in Bruce Lee's film career. When Chung discovers the truth that the factory is a front for a drug ring, he explodes. There's no elegance here, just rage, speed, and destruction. Bruce cuts through the factory workers like a storm, delivering slashes, strikes, and brutal takedowns in a blur of fury. It's rawer than the polished choreography of his later work, but that's exactly what gives it impact. While Fist of Fury is packed with standout moments, few are as intense as Bruce Lee's showdown with Petrov, a massive Russian brawler who looks like he was designed to be the final boss in a vintage arcade game. The tone here is stark. Unlike some of Bruce's later work that mixed humor or stylized choreography, this scene is stripped of flair. It feels more like a duel from a gritty western than a kung fu movie. Petrov isn't a pushover. He lands real blows and forces Bruce to dig deeper, to fight meaner. The tide turns when Bruce adapts, using his speed and precision to counter Petrov's brute strength. The fight ends with a ruthless throat strike that leaves no room for doubt. Bruce wins, and it's definitive. Enter the Dragon wasn't just Bruce Lee's Hollywood breakout, it was a showcase of elite martial artists, featuring brief appearances by future stars like Jackie Chan and Bolo Yeung. But the film opens with a sparring match that sets the tone perfectly. Bruce Lee facing off against the legendary Sammo Hung. This isn't a fight to the death, it's a disciplined, respectful exhibition between two top-tier fighters. Sammo, known for his size and surprising agility, brings speed and explosiveness to the screen. But Bruce? He's all focus, fluidity, and precision. This wasn't just a warm-up scene, it was Bruce Lee planting a flag. This is the level we're playing at now, and the world better pay attention. The Big Boss was Bruce Lee's breakout film, the first time global audiences witnessed his raw intensity and commanding screen presence as a leading man. What's interesting about the movie is how long it takes for Bruce's character Chung Chao to actually throw a punch. Bound by a promise to his mother not to fight, he spends much of the story holding back. But once his cousins vanish and he uncovers the drug operation run by the boss, everything changes. The final battle takes place outdoors, stripped of flash or gimmickry. It's just Bruce, the Big Boss, and the open sky. With a funky Joseph Koo score pulsing in the background, Bruce lets loose. His footwork sharp, his attacks fast and furious, all of it laced with a sense of righteous anger. This wasn't just the climax of a film, it was the birth of an icon. No elaborate sets, no philosophical monologues, just a man taking justice into his own hands and unleashing everything he had. Though Game of Death was never completed as Bruce Lee intended, the footage that does exist gave us one of the most unforgettable matchups in martial arts cinema: Bruce Lee versus basketball giant Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Standing at 7'2", Kareem plays Hakeem, an eerie, almost otherworldly opponent whose sheer size and presence make him seem unstoppable. The visual contrast is striking. Bruce looks almost dwarfed next to him, and for a moment, it genuinely seems like he might lose. Hakeem lands real hits. He backs Bruce into corners. He uses his reach to keep Bruce at bay. But then, Bruce adapts. He notices something. Hakeem flinches at the light. That moment of insight changes the game. Bruce exploits the weakness, gets inside, and finishes the fight with a calculated chokehold. This wasn't just a battle of strength. It was about observation, adaptation, and mental strategy, a living embodiment of Bruce's own words. What's left to say about this legendary duel? The 10-minute battle between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris in Way of the Dragon is more than a fight scene. It's a cinematic monument. Set in the Roman Colosseum, the atmosphere is heavy with anticipation. There's no music, just breath, footsteps, and silence. It's raw, stripped back, and all about the fighters sizing each other up, like two predators circling before the strike. Chuck Norris, a karate champion in real life, brings brute force and perfect technique. But Bruce meets it with speed, adaptability, and grace. The fight evolves in stages, from tentative exchanges to full-throttle combat, testing each man's endurance, power, and spirit. Bruce wins, but the final moments elevate the scene beyond simple victory. When Chuck makes one last move, Bruce hesitates, then finishes it with restraint, not pride. He bows. He pays respect.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup.
Not every legendary Bruce Lee moment came from a movie. In 1964, at the Long Beach International Karate Championships, Bruce demonstrated a move that would become the stuff of martial arts legend, the 1-inch punch. This wasn't about brute force. It was about precision, speed, and a deep understanding of body mechanics. With just an inch between his fist and the target, Bruce could generate shocking power, sending opponents flying with a strike that looked almost effortless. It wasn't designed for combat, it was a showcase of discipline and control. The demonstration was stunning, as some recipients were knocked back as if struck by a sledgehammer. And there it is, 15 moments that didn't just define Bruce Lee, but redefined what a martial artist could be. What we've just explored isn't a highlight reel, it's a legacy. One carved from pain, passion, and precision. One that still punches through time with a clarity few icons ever achieve. So yeah, Bruce may have left us too soon, but his story, his fire, that never left. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content.